You might not want to listen to this episode. I know that's not the sort of thing a host of a podcast is supposed to say. Marketing people aren't going to like this. Charles is going to have a fit. But I'd rather be honest with you right out of the gate. First, if you haven't listened to our other episodes, you don't want to start here. We have released buddy read book discussions about the King Killer Chronicle, Mistborn, and the Lord of the Rings. We also have broader discussions on things like our favorite characters in fantasy and episodes of Friends Pitching Fantasy, where we pitch books to each other to determine our next buddy reads. If you're curious to try our podcast, I recommend you start with one of those. They're much better introductions to our show. This episode deals with us recounting our stories from a trip we took to New Zealand to see the sites featured in the Lord of the Rings films. Without the context of already knowing and hopefully caring about us from previous episodes, you're probably going to feel pretty bored. Second, even if you have listened to our other episodes, I think it's only fair to warn you that this is a bit of a strange format. It doesn't do a lot of the things a classic episode from a fantasy podcast is supposed to do. And if you're looking for a continuation of our Lord of the Rings buddy read, you're not going to find it here. On the other hand, if you'd like to learn more about us and our experience together on an awesome trip that included sights from Lord of the Rings, this episode has a lot to offer. If you love jokes, banter, and nonsense from lifelong friends, if you're curious about the whole story behind things we occasionally mention, like Charles almost dying when we climbed Mount Doom, if you want to be introduced to Derek, the mysterious third member of our fellowship, which we call the M Crew, well, then this episode might be for you.
Okay, so here we are, immediately after our day 3 discussion. We're now on to Thursday, January 14th, the day that will be remembered in infamy amongst the M Crew.
Even Donnie.
Even Donnie
He
still
didn't come
feels
back.
the echoes of it. This was a very special day for so many reasons, but to put it into perspective, we drove into... Was that the hotel that was super cool, but because we drove into it so late, we couldn't enjoy it? It had like leather couches, and it wasn't what that had like the cool leather sofas and like the brick, like the stone fireplace and everything.
I don't remember.
I remember arriving late to one. I don't know if it was here
Oh, yes.
after Mount Doom, though.
No,
that
after
was
Mount Doom, we
before.
went to Wellington. We went to like a real
Okay.
hotel. I think it was this one. I think we like spent a lot of time in Rotorua and didn't get there until after it had closed.
And it had
A lot of
cool
these
lodge.
like bed and breakfast kinds of places, we were not the ideal guest because we would show up
No.
late and leave super early. We would like never even meet the people. They would just kind of be like, we stayed up waiting for you and now we're going to bed. Here's the key. And it's like, oh, well, sorry, but we got here as fast as we could. We don't know what we're doing.
Well, I think that's not terrible. I mean, they don't have to deal with us at all.
No, they didn't have to deal with us at all. If I was the hotel owner, I would be thrilled, but that's why I'm not a hotel owner. It's 'cause I don't want to deal with people. But anyway, yeah, we couldn't enjoy that super cool bar that was there, but we were able to get an early start to Mount Doom. So let's just jump into it and we'll build up the
Dead
story
man walking
as
in
we
that
get
picture.
to it. So this is the very beginning. So how it works is you park at the end of like the hike, and then you get in a shuttle, and the shuttle takes you around to the start of the hike, and then you hike through the whole area. And it's online, it says the hike takes 8 hours. Okay, and that's an important distinction from reality in our case. So we got there super early because we knew we wanted to have as much time as possible to get onto this hike. And this is kind of the beginning. So this is like the early morning, and these shots were just amazing. This was such an epic hike at this point. Like I could just picture like the wargs coming over the hill at any moment. It came right out of that scene in Return of the King where the orcs were like riding wargs over and attacked the crew from Rohan. Oh man, it was just so amazing. It was like I was in Middle Earth. All those like tracking shots you see in the movies. It it just like came to life for me here. It was absolutely incredible. And there's
I'm excited.
So, I mean, I just love this. Now, this is the
That's the start of our downfall.
this is the
Yeah,
ominous
Charles,
beginning.
Are you gonna tell them what the hike was supposed to?
Yeah.
Why don't you go into that? I'm tired of talking. You
You definitely know better than me, but I'll do my best.
I'll
We're
fill
basically
in.
supposed to follow a trail, as
Right.
one often does on hikes, that goes up and kind of around Mount Doom. It's called Mount. I'm gonna butcher it, so I'm sorry. Nagaruho, and
There's a T in there.
no, there's not.
I think so.
So then you're not really supposed to scale it as a part of that 8-hour hike that we talked about. And Charles, the dachshund of our crew over here, has everything planned out, and we're expecting 8 hours. We only had enough Cranberry Delight trail mix.
Oh, I
You
forgot
guys
about
remember
that.
Can't forget the Cranberry Delight trail
I think
mix
it was
we got
Cranberry
before.
Delish.
Oh, it was probably Cranberry Delicious, and then we started calling it Cranberry Delish.
I think it was called Cranberry Delish, but I could be
Really?
wrong. No, I don't know.
Okay. Anyway, we got a lot of trail mix, but only for 8 hours worth. And we
Water
were
also.
and water, yeah. So we're planning on going up some and then just kind of getting this view around Mount Doom. And that was the plan heading in. I don't know how much I should go into, or should we just keep
Well,
rolling
we'll
through
keep
pictures?
going, but it won't be too much longer until we're on the
Yeah.
trail to go up the mountain. But yeah, so at this point, we took the shuttle. The hike was epic. Like, I was enjoying the view. The weather was great. Mount Doom, I mean, you can see it, right? Like, there's the top. It's
Yep.
right there, It was very inviting. And we got to the point where we were at this kind of like the starting point where the paths diverge. And I mean, look at that, just looks right out of Middle Earth, man. That is Middle Earth. Super cool. I was just starting to
That's
get
a
on the hill.
beautiful
So
shot.
basically, it got to the point where we were like, you know what? We flew halfway across the world. We got here super early. We're here. Once in a lifetime, most likely. Mount Doom
Well,
is
Charles,
right there.
We've got, so we reach this point that there's a sign. There's a very low-key sign that just says peak. It's pointing in a certain direction, and it says X amount of hours. I can't remember how long.
Something ridiculous. It was like
3.
2 hours or
Two
two
or
or three. Yeah,
yeah.
it was right.
Not a huge deal, right?
So we're like, I remember being like 3 hours, adding on to our 8 hours. We still have plenty of time. That was my thought.
And we were there. How could we not
We
try
were
it?
standing
Yeah.
right at the base of Mount Doom. It's like, what, am I not going to climb it?
That was our attitude for sure. And 3 hours. And the sign, I can't stress this enough. There was nothing on the sign that said anything along the lines of, hey, if you're not an experienced mountain climber of any sort, then maybe you should think again.
Yeah,
it was just
or
this
like,
low-key sign. It might as well have been the one pointing toward
high
the green dragon.
elevation, steep altitude, all those other things. No.
And there was a serious sign at the beginning of the 8-hour hike, if you remember that.
Yeah.
The crossing sign. It was like, if you have a heart condition,
because it
and
is
this was just there. It was a
whatever
post.
19
Yeah.
kilometers is in miles. It's like slightly over 10, I guess. I don't know, but it is an all-day hike. Like, it's supposed to take 8 hours without the 3-hour detour that it was advertising. And there's a lot of people too. It was like a base section where a lot of people were kind of splitting off, some going up the mountain, some continuing
The
hike.
vast majority were not going up the mountain.
Yeah, and but we were
'Cause
like,
most are much smarter than we are.
it was like, we're here, let's do it. As we start to go up, you will notice that we get like
And we should say volcano. not
Oh, yeah.
mountain.
It's an active volcano.
You will see that we start to get really high up. You can see out into the distance, like, and how close the clouds are and everything. Like, that's the cloud line right there. And way in the distance is like ground level, sea level, So we are.
Oh, you could see the trail from here. That's
so
where
we're still
the
on
actual trail is.
But you can also.
No, the original trail. You could see in that picture.
Yes.
Down there.
Yes.
So the trail, there's not really a trail anymore once we start heading up the actual mountain. It starts becoming more of this, like, now we're actually climbing. We're not just hiking or walking
Look how
anymore.
gorgeous that is,
We're
though.
literally like, oh, let me put my hand on this rock and then put my foot on that rock. And we're just
That's
scaling this thing,
awesome.
and we're
See
like,
that?
when does this turn back into a regular trail?
Yeah,
With
well,
markers. We
I have the
no
pictures,
markers
though.
anymore.
I have the pictures. So we're starting to get pretty high. And we're like, wow, we're getting high, man. I wonder how long have we been doing this? An hour? And it doesn't feel like we're a third of the way
Yeah.
up, and we're still going up. And
These are on the way down.
oh, these are.
Yeah, I remember that little hut. This is
It starts to turn into something like this, right? All of a sudden, as we're going up, the trail just starts to disappear, and we start to get in the cloud line, and our visibility goes way down.
Yeah, it's
to
like 10
nothing.
feet.
And it also gets really, really steep at this point, and the ground basically turns into scree, which is just like loose rock and sand.
So you can see in these pictures, if you are watching in a format where you can see that, basically you could look up and you'd see maybe a couple feet up, but then it'd just be cloud.
That's a good one. Yeah.
And then you'd look down and you could see maybe a couple feet down, but it'd just be cloud.
But look how
So
poor the visibility is here.
Yeah.
How many feet could that possibly be? Look at that. It's like
Yeah.
you can see the rocks in front of you and then nothing.
So
we
key
had no
in this-
idea. It was like, where's the summit? You can't even
Exactly.
see
We don't
And we
know
didn't
how
know
much
where.
farther.
Yeah, if we went down, we don't know where we would end
it.
up.
The thing we kept telling ourselves is like, look, we've been at this for 2 hours, so we gotta be almost there because
Yeah.
it's a 3-hour hike to the summit. was what
Can we
kept
talk
telling
about?
ourselves.
Oh, that's a good
this shows how steep parts of it.
It
were.
was so steep you could not stand, and if you didn't have your hands grabbing onto ground, you would fall.
Yeah.
it
And
was so.
none of us are mountain climbers.
No, we're in like
I knew what
we're
sneakers
doing.
and shorts. We don't have.
I had hiking boots on, but
It was at this
a
point where
windbreaker-
we pretty
it
much
got
had
cold.
all of our water, like almost all of. And keep in mind, like we're only like 2 hours into the hike. There's still like 5 hours of actual hike to go beyond this. And then we tried to get an honest depiction of
Oh,
the
you can
slope
see how
here.
steep
It was
that is.
so crazy.
Yeah.
It's someone
So
climbing.
there'd be parts where it start to level out, and that's what you're seeing in this picture is someone's emerging from where it's starting to level out. And we had this decision point, though. Do you guys remember? I don't know.
Yes.
Multiple times we had this decision point.
But there's one key one. There's one
Yes.
that decided it all, because we'd kind of been circling around this idea. Okay, do we turn back? Maybe it was an hour and a half or 2 hours into the part of actually like scaling the mountain rather than hiking. And I remember, and pretty much the whole time, Derek is not way in the front. Sometimes he is, but Derek's in front. Derek's moving the quickest. I'm kind of in the middle, and Charles is holding up the rear.
Although, if you
And-
look, that's my shoe, so someone's behind me.
This was probably a rare occurrence, but
But yes, I was
generally
the caboose.
speaking. And I remember at one point that I was in the middle of you too, and we're having this conversation. All right, are we going to go the rest of the way, or are we going to go back down? And we've always done this thing, even just down to like, are we going to play Super Smash Bros or play a board game or whatever? There's 3 of us, so we could have this kind of, okay, best 2 out of 3 votes is what we end up doing. And Derek's like, look, we're here. I really want to go up. And Charles is like, guys, I don't know how much longer this is going to be. Like, we can't see anything. I want to go back down.
Yes.
And
I'm glad you remember that. 'cause
Yes.
I was definitely on the side of we are beyond our experience level and we cannot see where we're going.
yes, which was a very fair take.
Yeah, it was.
Then it was like, all right, Dylan, you make the call. It's your vote. And I said famous last words. I mean, how much further could it be?
Because that we were doing the math, right? We're like 3 hours to the summit. We're
Yeah.
an hour in. I think we lost sight of a trail. We lost visuals. We are now clinging onto rocks, but it's only like another hour and a half to go before we're at the top. was our
I
thought
think
process.
it was less than that when we had this. It was like
Right.
maybe 45 minutes. We're like, okay, it can't be too bad.
But then
Yeah.
we kept going, and it was way past 3 hours, and now it's just
Yes.
like everyone was like, we got to get to the top now, because it's just like we're too far gone.
Well,
at this
we were
point.
lost at that point.
Yeah,
We had to
and-
at least find a location that we could center ourselves with.
So we're not seeing any other people for basic.
No, not a soul, not a single person.
One guy walked by
I don't
us,
know
if you
what
remember.
happened. We were one of
Yes.
the first people to start the hike, and then somehow everyone else moved on except us. I don't know if we got epically lost or what, but
But we only went up. That's the thing. It's not like we were going straight.
we only
to the
went
left and
uphill.
right.
So how
Right.
much?
So
we didn't
I don't know.
like,
It's like we ended up in the twilight zone for a bit and then just
what it felt
emerged.
like.
It was
So
very
I think we're
straight.
actually at this point nearing the summit now.
I think
this
Looking at
is
the
pictures.
top.
But
Oh, not
I-
yet.
Let's
Oh.
okay. Go. Wait. Can we talk a little more about actually scaling this, because we're not
Yeah.
giving this the attention it deserves. I feel, or if we wouldn't be if we would just go on to the
Yeah.
being at the top, because it needs to. The listeners need to know how scary this was. I remember a point where we were just kind of like, we'd found a place where there's a big rock jutting out. We're kind of all sitting around, and there's a picture that's lost to humanity at this point that we
unfortunately, yeah.
that's like
I have
Charles's
the face. I just
Yeah.
have the face, you know. That's
Yeah.
on somewhere.
Yeah, I know you shared that recently. It's Charles's face, and it looks like the face of a broken man. Who
I
is-
wish we still had, because I'm like smiling, but it's like
No.
a smile that maybe
He
the
looks
Joker
like the
would
Joker.
smile.
Yes.
It's like someone who has snapped completely. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, can they see that in the video?
I don't
recording?
know.
We'll find out. I don't know.
Yeah.
Text it to Charles, and maybe he can throw it on his screen. And I remember when we were there. So Charles looks like he's
Just
gonna.
put it in the group me
break.
though, Derek. The group me.
Just it.
Thank
Charles
you.
looks like he's gonna break, and Derek was a champ throughout most of this. But I remember I was thinking, like, I know probably at the end of this we're all gonna be alive, and this will be over. But it's really hard to imagine how we're going to make that happen.
Yeah. No, it was actually, I don't want to say scary at a certain point. Maybe I just didn't like think about it that way, because I was like, we have to move, otherwise we're lost.
I remember your attitude being
Yeah.
very pragmatic like that.
Yeah,
because-
no, I definitely like Derek is always kind of more in his wheelhouse when he's like the one looking at the maps and stuff, and I definitely think he had that moment of kind of stepping up and being like, we got to keep moving.
Right, or it's gonna
Yeah.
we're gonna miss the bus. We're gonna be stuck on the mountain overnight, and we're
We'll end up
lost
like
in the
Donnie.
clouds.
That was another
Right.
thing. We had the
Yeah.
thank goodness it was winter because we would not
Like
have
that, you see, that's like, hey Charles, we're gonna take a picture right now. Smile.
But and then Dylan and I we probably are stone faced.
This might be the episode. This might be the episode title card for this. This might be the cover photo for this episode, Dylan.
And in the process of uploading my pictures to a Dropbox, the original non-cropped version got lost.
Which is
Yes.
so the biggest
Yeah.
casualty of the trip. If
Yeah,
because I didn't die, it was the biggest.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, and also you forgot to mention, so by now, like our knuckles and palms are cut and our knees are
Oh,
bleeding.
completely
like,
We're torn
destroyed
to pieces.
because
Right.
you had to climb with your hands and feet. You're literally scaling it like Gollum, like climbing it up.
Yeah.
It was brutal, and you had
And
to like.
I'm in a windbreaker. We're all in shorts. Like this was
stupid.
not.
We were
good.
so not
At least
anywhere
gloves. If we had
close to
gloves, that
prepared
would
to
have
do
been
this.
amazing.
We are not hikers. We're not rock climbers. We're not
Well, now we are.
not even that much of outdoors people. So it was quite the shock. And then
Yeah.
so we are convinced we're never going to get there. It's like 4 hours. Did it get us? Did it take us like 5 hours to get to
It
the
took
top?
5 hours to get to the top.
Insane. And then we also were worried about we still have over 5 hours of actual hiking to do. The sun is going to set.
We have
Thank
to
goodness.
get down.
Thank goodness it was summertime and the sun didn't set till like 8 o'clock at night. But we were
Yeah.
like, bro, we do not want to be here when the sun goes down. We won't be able to see anything.
Because it's cold at this point. We're
Yeah.
cold. Because
We're
like,
freezing because
Yeah.
our elevation is very high. I forget the elevation,
it's up there.
but it's the highest point in the North Island, I think. So it's high up.
And this is
higher
not
than I've ever
fog.
climbed.
These are
I think.
clouds. They're clouds,
Yeah.
not fog.
Oh yeah, no,
There's
these
a
are
picture
clouds.
I took at some point that hopefully we'll see on here that when we're at the top, you literally see
Clouds
us
go
looking
by.
down on the clouds.
Yeah, no, it was
So,
amazing.
Can we talk about what was at the summit now?
Yeah, that's
We
Is
gotta
this
keep this. We gotta keep
Oh
our
my God.
non-explicit rating when we talk about what's out on the summit, though, Charles.
okay?
right.
So we finally get to the top, and I couldn't even believe it, like that it existed at this point, and it was hard to even think that it was a thing. But we get up there, some adventurous soul somehow went up the mountain and then down into the volcano to make
This is
the
the
lovely
caldera
graphic that
right
you
here.
see before you. Could you describe it to our listeners?
It's a phallus.
It's male genitalia.
Yeah.
It's the
Drawn
same.
in the
It's
snow.
the same thing that Derek used to draw on our notebooks when we were in
5th grade,
7th grade or
Yeah.
whatever, right?
Right.
Yeah. But
Oh, here's a
it's
good shot of us in the
beautiful,
skyline.
yeah. But so in this caldera, and that's got to be what 75 feet down. Like this is an experienced mountain climber that
Someone
went down there and then drew it in the snow. It's got to be.
I don't
like
think I
30
physically
feet.
could have done that. I don't know.
No,
how
no. You
someone-
need
Charles,
actual climbing gear. Oh, look at that guy.
Yeah, Derek, even
Repping
you look
the-
a little shook.
Yeah,
repping the crew.
We're out of water and food by now.
Oh,
we're like,
I forgot. On the mantle of my fireplace in the living room, I have rocks from right this very spot.
I have rocks
I have
from
Mount
here,
Doom
too.
rocks too. Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
were all just like, we're taking something. God damn it! It's like,
Yeah.
came all the way up here.
With how much this volcano and climbing it took from me, I'm taking something back.
Yeah, so
I will never be
we
the
have
same,
some of
and
those
neither will
bright
it.
red pumice rocks. It's in my. I was made a
Igneous
mental note
rock.
to grab it, and I didn't, but it's just in the other room. There you are.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because you can see in all these pictures, like, these are not the faces of men who are doing, like, okay.
We're-
Derek looks all right at that one, but there's a little bit of
I think we're
something
like
off.
just relieved that we're at the top. I'm like, bro.
I thought this was a video, Charles. I'm wondering if my
have
video.
video.
I have a video.
There
on
is a
mine.
video.
Oh, that's
Whoa!
so good.
I feel like I haven't seen this one.
that was.
Yeah,
that
we're
was my
losing it
phone,
in
I
this
think.
picture.
This was before we got to the top, and we were just kind of went nuts for a little.
That
bit.
might have been right before we took the other picture.
other
lost
one.
It
to
looks like
time.
it could be.
I
This
forgot
could
how
be
did
Charles.
the
This could be
split
the
screen.
episode picture too. I don't know
Yeah,
if you
that's a
post-
good point. That has all of us in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the summit when it kind
Oh
of
yeah.
cleared up
So
a
the
little
cloud went away. How beautiful is this?
bit. Yeah, gorgeous.
So yeah, you can see here too that there's
We are
depending
in
on
the
where you're standing,
clouds.
you're looking down on the clouds.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Here's,
insane.
so at the
Oh, and
top,
then we
we
found
start
people.
seeing
We found
people.
people, which was such a relief also. Because for a while we thought we were like, we must have
Alone,
really messed up. We must have. I'm still convinced that we must have like missed the trail and just went
Well,
up a rough
probably.
area when there's probably a trail because we got so left behind.
But we had to walk a ways on the rim, like this volcanic rim, to find those people. You know, we were not where we got up was not an area where there
Yeah.
were other people.
So that's a
Oh,
thing,
that's cool.
right? That we somehow didn't see any people on our way up, and then we get to the top, and there's a decent amount of people. That's probably a sign that we did
messed
something
up
wrong.
so bad. I have
For
no
sure.
idea what we did to this day, but I wouldn't try it again. That's something that I would not do
Well,
again.
Charles, you said you would if in our Would You Rather episode. When I asked
did,
if
but
you'd
that
rather
was a
give
lot
up
at stake.
Lord of the Rings,
What
And,
was
you know,
the
it's like a
other-
month of preparation I could do.
or
it.
no? I said tomorrow.
I know,
in the
I
Would
would
You
do
Rather.
it. I stand by my would you
What
rather.
was the would you rather?
You don't listen to the show?
The Would You? Yeah, Derek,
No.
are you not
Guys,
friend to
ew.
friend?
I'm a YouTube viewer. I'm waiting for pictures.
Hey, it's dropped on YouTube, that episode.
Uh,
so
what,
that
what was
so
the would you rather?
the Would You Rather was me saying to Charles, would you rather do this hike again tomorrow with no preparation or give up reading the Lord of the Rings series forever? Not that he like forgets it all, he just
Ooh.
can't pick up the book series again and read it again.
Yeah.
And he said he would read the book series, or he would choose climbing the Mount Doom hike again to not give up the book series. And I said, I cannot wait until Derek's on the show so he can say how that's not true. Like he would be regretting it.
Look,
I would absolutely say that is not your choice.
It's easy in the
You were,
hypothetical.
Charles, at the bottom of the mountain. You would. I don't believe you. I know you mentally blocked stuff out.
I acknowledge that I was physically barely able to do it back then, and it would be insanely difficult.
I'm not talking physically. I'm talking mentally. I think
Both.
you blocked out.
No,
Yeah.
I trust me. I did not forget. I know the weight of the words. Like we're talking about giving up a series for all of time. You know,
Yeah, that's
so
fair.
there's not many situations that I would agree to just unprepared climb that mountain again. But giving up the fantasy series for all the rest of my life is one that I would risk the mountain again.
That's fair.
Derek,
That's
if you
fair.
do get around to watching the YouTube version of that episode, just listen to how chill Charles is about
Look, I made up
the
my
idea
mind.
of climbing the mountain.
I made up my mind. This could
So
be the
we're
episode.
already at the
You
bottom in
skipped a
this
lot.
picture,
Yeah, we
and
yeah.
going down is probably the more eventful part than
Yeah.
going up.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the pictures
I don't think these are in
all
perfect
kind of
order,
come
yeah.
together. I have
Charles,
tons of.
now the YouTube watchers know that we live. It's a spoiler.
Well, Donnie.
Donnie didn't make it.
Well, I think the fact that we were recording this is a spoiler that we lived. But
Fair.
okay, I'll leave it. But viewers can see kind of the paths going down and how high up it is. But yeah, are we ready to tell this part of the story?
Well, let's see if we have pictures going down. I think we do, right?
Oh, Charles, you're
Oh.
I'm getting too
That
far
is
ahead.
Yeah.
Please.
Oh my
Please
God.
stop.
I have pictures going down. Damn it.
Well,
Oh.
I put up all the pictures you sent me
Explicit.
are in here. I have.
Well, just-
Really?
there's
Yes.
just go back. Why do you keep going to these ones? Stop these.
Here's
Oh,
one
here,
of us
no,
going
yeah.
down. Here we go.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, I'm ahead of you guys. Oh wow, I'm pretty far ahead of you guys. Oh, this is when I was spotting rocks, wasn't it?
I don't remember. But the issue was, so going down was way faster, but the issue was it was still scree, right? So you would step and then you would slide down like 2 feet with every step. You would kind of just like skate down, and that's why you saw Dylan's pants earlier, because he just slid down on his butt and like cruised down that thing and
Yeah,
left
it
his
just
pants
took out his
behind on the
pants,
mountain.
Well, so let me explain.
And that's not
this
a detriment to
the-
Dylan's
No.
descending skills. It was ridiculous.
or the pants.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
so-
maybe the pants.
And then
I
our
was-
hands and knees were like that too, basically.
I should have told you not to include those for my professional image. But
People need to know how much we sacrificed.
All right. Well, they're there. And what happened was, you'd have to try to find a way to slide down at points, and there's just rocks that are scraping up against you. And some of those rocks got to my shorts. They were shorts, and just ripped a big hole in the back of them. So luckily, I had these this hiking boxers or whatever. So it's not like they're not particularly revealing pictures. They're pretty tame, I would say. But yeah, there's pictures of me after we got down that I did the rest of the hike with my shorts, like one of the sides of my back.
And it's more than half
Like,
of the hike to go.
It
still.
tore
Yeah,
off.
it was 5 hours with your pants open.
Well, but we can get there. We're still
Yeah.
back at when we were actually going down.
Well, I think we should go back to that other picture, because this
Back
is
to
when we're now
going-
on the
here we
real trail on that other picture.
Is
right.
this Derek looking up at
Yeah.
people
I think
coming
so.
down?
Yeah, I think this is Derek looking up at you and me going down. I think you're the closest one, Dylan, and I'm the
Okay.
next one. And then there's some other guy, maybe the guy that almost killed me, behind
Yeah.
me.
Well, there was.
I think
remember,
they'd have to
yeah.
be farther up to
Yeah.
be the ones who almost
So
killed you.
throughout the whole hike, even more ominous to this point was, even as we were going up, because it was so steep and all the rocks were loose, if someone high up knocked a rock down, it would just fly down. The velocity of it was incredibly violent. Like, I was the first time it happened when we were going up, I was like,
These are big
"Whoa."
rocks.
Yeah, they're big rocks, like
Twice the size of Charles's head. And I have
Yeah.
that reference
it
point.
was huge. And they would come down and they would gain incredible speed and they would violently like skip as they crashed into the road. They just boom, boom, boom as they go down the mountain getting faster. And people would warn you like, oh,
Just
heads
by
up, rock
screaming,
coming.
yeah.
Well,
Like,
sometimes they would.
They'd be like timber basically for rocks, whatever timber for rocks is.
I think they just yell
Get
rock.
out of yeah.
So on the way down, I remember I was kind of trailing behind, and it was Derek, Dylan, me pretty much the whole way in like a line. And how did it get to be that we were going down and it was Derek, I guess you were the one that saw it? Like, who saw it?
Yeah. Derek,
Well,
Go
I
ahead,
think,
Derek.
yeah. So after a while of this, and the rocks, it was very, somewhere like you said, double the size of a head, somewhere, the size of a fist. But eventually, more people started following this little runoff trail. That's why some of it's a little sandier. We were
Right.
following where the rain would go, and
Or
more
people's
people
butts.
were coming down. Yeah, or people. Yeah.
my pants.
Just
I was just
well,
following
they're long
Dylan's
gone, yeah.
pants line that he left
yeah,
for me.
just torn pieces of my pants.
But eventually, the rocks were coming at a pretty consistent rate and somewhat near us. So since I was far enough ahead, I would wait for a bit and kind of keep a lookout for Charles and Dylan.
A regular
I think that's
Legolas.
a nice rainbow in this picture, by the way.
Yeah, there is. I did not notice that when we were climbing down. So I remember Derek
I didn't
would be-
remember any rainbows.
No, it does not fit into my image of this.
No, if we
just
go back to
brutal
those
day.
pictures where it's all fog and like dark volcanic rock, that's what I
Yeah.
remember.
So I remember Derek was, especially going down, Derek was on his game. He would get way ahead and basically like find a place he could actually perch, and he would look up and see if rocks were coming, because people didn't always call when a rock
Yeah.
it was a rock slide, basically.
Right.
Like a rock slide is happening.
But it was like one rock that would just go flying down.
Yeah. And dangerous, if it hit
Very.
if it hit you in the head, I don't know if you still have a head afterwards sometimes.
Right.
So
And we did look it up. There is like, between like 10 to 12 people that either die or get helicoptered off that mountain every year. So
Yeah.
that many?
I believe so. It was around 10.
Was that?
But
was
I
that
think
a
it was
year?
less than 10 fatalities, but that many that had to get like coptered out.
Yeah. So this picture, if you're watching on YouTube, doesn't really show this part, but there'd be a lot of times here where you'd basically be in a place where you were like hand on a rock, like two hands, one on each rock, and 2 feet, one on each rock. And you had to look to see like, okay, where's my next step? Where's another rock that's sturdy enough that I could actually step on it?
So you
Right.
So it
wouldn't
was
roll your
very
ankle.
careful steps. Like you did not want to just step wherever.
And you couldn't
could
just
fall.
stand up either. Like
No.
this is towards the bottom, but
Yeah.
when you're near the summit, you could not stand. It was that steep. So it was very careful, like you're scaling backwards, like reverse
Yeah.
crab, like a crab walking down, just trying not to scrape up your hands.
So yeah, so you're basically pressed against sometimes, like on one of those, like if you're a kid and never did those rock wall climb things.
But
It
not
felt
a
like-
vertical incline.
But yeah, it felt kind of like that. And at one point, Derek had found somewhere to perch, and Charles and I were kind of hanging there with our 4 limbs pressed against the side of this volcano. And then Derek calls out, "Rock!" And the people above us did not think to call out that this rock, like I said, twice the size of Charles's
It was
head,
big.
and it was moving too.
rolling fast, picking up steam.
I remember it
toward-
would come super fast, and when it hit the when it actually like would skip down the mountain, every time it hit, it would bounce in like an unpredictable way. It's like a football, when it bounces on the ground,
Exactly.
you don't know where it's gonna skip off to next. And it was moving so fast that it was like going all over the place and just barreling down.
I remember I was a decent amount to the right of Charles. And
Yeah,
we
you
were
weren't
both-
in line.
Yeah, but the rock was basically following the exact trail that Charles had been taking. It
Right,
was like-
because we had made basically a path of least resistance sliding down the mountain, right? So it was like channeling down. It was like going right down the path that we had carved in the rock as we were sliding down. And at this point, Derek had called it, and I was like, looking down. So I remember like turning around, and I remember seeing it, and I remember being like, well, the bounces are unpredictable, right? So maybe it will like go flying off, and it wasn't. And I was like, I can't just like walk 5 feet to my right because it was so steep. I remember like being clutched on, like I can't move.
There's nothing he
like
could
every
do.
movement I have to like watch my footing and like test the rocks and stuff. So I knew I couldn't move fast enough to dodge the rock. So I see it coming.
Charles,
and then
can I speak
basically
a little
there was
from
a
my
moment.
view? Charles.
Yeah.
So, like from my view, what I'm seeing at this point is like rocks basically following the trail that Charles had been taking, but it's a little bit like to the right. So in between where like Charles and I are, I'm far enough away where I'm not super worried about myself, but I'm a little concerned. Mostly thinking about Charles. And it's a little to the right of Charles. And I think, okay, it'll probably miss him. It's not going to get him. And I remember then it starts going toward where another rock was kind of like jutted up. And like we said, it takes these football bounces. You just don't know where it's going. So then it catches that rock that's jutted up and it takes a skip back toward the direction of Charles. And I'll let you.
Yes. So it was bouncing unpredictably. And this moment happened as it was getting closer where I just, like, you could just tell it was going to just get too close. So my decision was like, I can't move. But when it makes that last skip in front of me, I'm just going to let go. Right. I had, there's just nothing else I could do. I was going to let go of the, of my footing and just fall a little, like fall down the mountain. I was like, it would be better than eating rock. So I just remember it being super loud, super violent. And then I was just like, I gotta go. And I just let go of my grip and slid. I don't remember how far, but it was very painful. I remember messing up my right leg completely in like scrapes and bruises afterwards. But
I remember, Charles, you going like putting both your hands behind your head and kind of like moving your head off to the side as you were.
It was that close. Like I could feel it.
I feel like, so you didn't get to see how much it missed you by. It missed Charles by probably like if you took Charles's head, probably like 3 Charles's heads worth toward the right, as Charles actually was like facing as far away from the rock, which is a pretty smart move, I would say, as he could. I would say if Charles didn't move his head, it doesn't hit him, but it's so close.
Yeah.
I just remember feeling like all it takes is to land in a weird, funny way, and it just turns right, it hits me right in the face. It could easily happen that way. It was just fortunate enough that it barely missed me, and I didn't fall that far. Like we were still like we could see the bottom, and it was starting to loosen up. As you can see here, we're finally walking, but man,
this was above that. Yeah,
that was not fun.
If I remember, as it was coming down, because you couldn't see really.
No,
much.
I couldn't see anything.
I was relaying information to you about where it was when I was at the bottom.
And that was the worst part about it. Like we knew it was coming for so long, and there was
like,
absolutely nothing I could do to like maneuver to avoid it. I was like, I can't, like, it takes me a minute just to shuffle a foot to the side, So, and I don't want to shuffle to the side and then it comes right at me, because it was unpredictable in its path. So, man, that just changed. Like I was already not having a good time, and then that moment just brought me I was like, I'm ready to be done with this day. That was the like.
We only have 5 hours left.
Yeah, I mean, that was the most brutal part about it. The most psychologically damning thing was just the fact that we parked our car at the exit of the whole thing. So we had to walk all these hours and all these miles. And it's not even just like a straight walk. We're still going uphill, downhill. We're still rock climbing at certain parts.
It's the rest of the 5-hour hike. I mean, it's like
incredibly high altitude.
It's going to be a long hike. And we just added scaling and descending.
And it was beautiful once we kind of settled down a little.
I feel that. Oh, I remember having a conversation with Charles once we got down, where I was like, "Dude, that was wacky." The rock part of it. And I remember Charles saying to me, and we're just in survival mode at this point, but he's like, when we're done with all of this, I've got some things I have to process.
I don't remember that, but that sounds very true.
Yep.
Where's the video? I specifically found it. Maybe I put it at the end, but
that's a life-threatening situation, Charles.
Oh,
I was legit. I mean, like, talking about psychological scarring. Like, I can only imagine what it was like for you. For me, that was one of the scariest moments of my life. Probably the scariest moment of my life was watching.
So you guys described me as having an attitude. I was just so beyond. I was just like,
completely
that was so dumb.
It
was like such a bad idea to do that, and then it was a bad idea to keep doing it, and then it was a bad idea to but you know what, if we went back in time, I would have made the choice to climb it every single time, just because like we're here, it's Mount Doom, it's 3 hours, how can you not do it? I would have done that every single time, not knowing better. So it's like, I don't beat myself up too much.
We didn't have the right information.
But the rest of the way down after that incident, we were just like, bro, that we almost died. Let's get out of here.
Yeah. And to mention,
it changed the whole tone of the rest of that. It did get better, though.
I was going to say, talking about what Dylan just said, just the placement where each of us were on the mountain. Like, thank God Dylan was more to the left. Thank God I was further down. So I actually, because if I was facing forward, we wouldn't have even known it was coming.
If we were all next to each other, we would have been able to dodge it.
Right. We would have all gotten smacked. So we just happened to be in like good. I mean, you weren't in a great place, but we were in good spots. Luckily, that we were able to.
We did get as unlucky as we were also lucky enough that we were able to avoid anything.
We were just
because if that rock had hit any of us in any part of our body, it would have done some gnarly damage.
Yeah,
it would have
even
broken
if
bones.
that hit your easily, that could have just.
Oh yeah,
because it was just going
arm,
so
shoulder.
fast. It was going so fast, and I would just remember how violent those rock falls, those rock slides were. Yeah. I was surprised by the violence of them.
No, and people were getting mad. If you remember, once there was a stream of people leaving the
I was
top,
probably the most.
Well, yes, you were. But
I was like,
no, but it was so. I'm saying we weren't the only. It's not like we were outliers in a bad situation. Everybody,
but
even the more experienced
people, was so
were
tall and so steep. They probably couldn't even tell they were loosing. They loosed that rock.
They knew.
Probably just went down into the mist and then.
No, because it wasn't misty by then. We called a couple of rocks down ahead of us.
Yeah.
So, no, I mean, I think that when you first start doing it, if you're not an experienced climber, like we were not experienced climbers, you loose a rock and you're so concerned about like getting yourself out of it. You might not think, oh, there's people down there who I should probably tell I loosed this rock. And I think since that one came from so high up, that's probably what happened, why they didn't call it, because sometimes it takes a little time to see like, oh, that's probably the etiquette that I should be using.
Yeah, exactly. It was just craziness. No way would I do that again unless I was training for it. And even then,
or if you needed to keep yourself from
or in these hypothetical situations.
Never. Yeah, the hypotheticals are so easy.
Would keep me away from reading Lord of the Rings ever again. But yeah, only.
But
the
it's
most
amazing
dire
how brave you are in the hypotheticals, though, Charles. When you don't have to do it.
I've already done it once.
Oh yeah, I'll just go do it again. I mean, it's such a good book series.
I would. I still stand by that. So. Hey, my mind is made up. Now, here's a fun video that Derek took while we were still going up the mountain, and we had not found the top yet. I am impressed that same man is doing this.
There is no trail.
Hey!
Dylan, he's gonna die. Charles, he's gonna die. There's truly Derek, he's gonna die. We were totally had. And
Literally climbing up a mountain.
this is Mount Doom, and there is no trail.
Nothing. We were just in the middle of this mountain. I was just like,
Oh,
we're gonna die.
didn't
That's it.
I
This
don't
is
remember
it.
that video. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
me neither. I didn't know. I mean, I guess that helps people understand our mental states.
I'm telling. Derek had sent me this video a while back. I would not advise almost 5 years later trying to gather all the materials to do a slideshow. I would recommend just doing it right after the trip. But I had remembered Derek sent me this video years ago, and I had it saved on my computer, and I finally found it today. I've been looking for it for
Wow.
days. I was like, I know this. It's like, Derek, where's that "We're Gonna Die" video? I know I have it somewhere. I can't find it. But I was lucky to find it in the 11th hour today.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's a
Wow.
great video.
Nice, Charles. Thanks for sharing that.
Sometimes, like, it's so crazy to see the videos of these moments, right? Where it's
There is no trail.
It puts me right back there.
look how isolated we are.
And we're
Dylan, he's gonna die.
I love
Charles,
though.
he's
You
gonna
can just
die.
see the looks on our faces.
truly
We do
Derek,
not
he's
look
gonna die.
right.
We were totally had. And
Literally climbing up a mountain.
this is Mount Doom, and there is no trail.
That's it.
Charles
We're gonna
just
die.
goes-
That's it.
Charles is resigned to his fate.
And I love Derek's like, I was like, this is Mount Doom. There's no trail.
Yeah.
It's like the drums in the deep.
And for the record,
They're
this
coming.
part here is much flatter than most of what
This
we're
is where
doing.
we stop to take a break.
Yeah.
So that's us in our taking a break pose. It's like, oh, I can kind of take a knee here and relax a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was a nice rest. That was a repose.
Do we want to say anything else before we move on? I guess we
Well,
do have to say.
We should say how we got out of there. And also, I want to give props to those women that we met
Yes.
at the bottom.
So let's
we met
go
up with-
back to-
when we got back on the trail. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, the rest of the walk, not walk, but hike. It was a walk compared to what we did. It was stunning. It was amazing. Once,
I wish I
our
was in a
hearts were-
better frame of mind to
Yeah.
enjoy it, but I remember just like being so fed up,
Yeah.
being like, "This is
That's how I
this is
feel.
beautiful.
I was
Whatever,
on-
man.
I was
It's
enjoying it.
gorgeous. Let's just go. It's gorgeous."
But I remember there were a couple of spots where you could see volcanic
Ah,
steam
come-
coming out of the mountain. It was very cool.
Oh, it was
Yeah.
absolutely gorgeous, and there was like areas that had more like
Yeah.
woodland areas and much more lush,
Yeah.
and
But also, it was like, what's the word?
and you'll notice
Theologically alive.
Diverse.
It was
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Ah,
Well,
absolutely.
also, I mean, it was.
it was. I would do that hike
Lush.
again in a heartbeat. I would love to do it again. I would just go nowhere near that mountain.
Yeah, you can hike around.
But
I would do it too.
I
for
would
sure.
recommend the hike to any. I would do that hike tomorrow
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
at
No,
any
the-
time.
The only part I would not want to do again is
No, that was
was
stupid.
And-
the highest term. You have to be
So-
an experienced hiker to take that on.
And you could see this is the runoff area where we came down. We were a little.
We made the
speck.
joke like that's Dylan's pants line.
Yeah, no,
going
so
down
it's-
the mountain.
Now you have a scale of what we would be on one of those little tan trails.
Right, exactly.
That's the
True.
size of. I don't know,
And
who knows?
Look
big
how
that is.
isolated we still are, yet someone took that picture.
Right. Well,
like
this is
Dylan
back on
said
the real
earlier,
trail.
this we have to give props to these three women. I guess they were from England.
England, I believe.
Yeah.
And besides us, they were the only ones left on this whole hike that we ran into. Besides towards the exit, there were people camping, but it was just the six of us. It's like, how did this happen? That
And where did everybody go?
where did all these
Yeah,
people?
It was,
I think some
was
people that
weird.
were like on the summit were coming from the other direction, maybe, and like that was
maybe
their
it was a
exit.
different
Who
trail,
knows?
a different hike. Who knows? Yeah.
Who
Hard to
knows?
say.
We did something epically bad, but for those last 5 hours, we kind of like stuck together, the six of
Yeah.
us, because it's like, look, there's no way that we're going to make it. like we're the only people here, and like the sun's coming down. So I think the only thing that kept us like from killing each other or ourselves was the fact that we got to introduce ourselves to new people and like meet
Yeah.
new people and
talk, and we
yeah,
we put it
talk
out of
and-
our mind, our
Totally.
extreme fatigue out of our mind.
So they were three women who lived a really interesting lifestyle where they'd basically just find some place to travel to, and they would get jobs as servers or something like that in this place and just spend a while there and then pick up and go somewhere else. They were around our age at the time, like
Yeah.
mid-20s, and it was kind of interesting too. I always remembered thinking, hey, that's a pretty cool way to treat life. Is
Yeah.
they
Right.
got to travel to they're telling me about Machu Picchu and things like that. And as Charles and Derek are saying, getting to meet new people and kind of having to put on a little bit of that social grace of like, hi, I'm Dylan, I'm a normal person, and
right.
all that kind of stuff.
I mean, when you
kept us
realize how much
afloat in
we've
ways
done
we might not
already,
have
we've been
otherwise.
hiking for 5 hours and we went up like the tallest summit in the North Island. To have to do 5 more hours, that like fact alone was enough to snap my mind.
Yeah.
So to be able to
And we
have
were out of
something-
water.
and we were out of water. My
Yes.
body was totally shot at this point. I was
Yeah.
exhausted beyond belief. And we still had to keep going. And it wasn't, like we said, it wasn't just flat trails. It was still high elevations. We're still going up hills, down hills for hours. And thank God we had these other people. I remember towards the end, Dylan, you would ask me a question. You were like, Charles, what if there was another mountain here that we would have to scale? And I was like, I remember being like,
I remember
just
this.
climb it, man. Like,
I could have quoted you as saying that too, even after all these years.
Because you were like, because you were like making fun of me because I was like I was the party pooper. I was like so done from being almost dead, and you were like, Charles, what if we had to hike another mountain right now? I was like, I just climb it, I guess. Like at this
Charles
point,
again with his incredible valor in hypothetical situations.
But the thing is, at that time, he would have done it.
Oh, he would.
I would have had to, man. Our car
Charles
was on
would
the
have
other
done.
side.
Yeah. Well,
It was
see,
either
I
that
was
or
about to bring that up.
sleep it off in the woods with no provisions.
That's
of any
what
kind.
that's what your cousin Bigfoot would have done.
Yeah. Well, he's
Now-
much more prepared biologically
Yeah.
to survive in
He
the
would have been
wild
warm.
than me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was friends with one of these women on Facebook for a while after.
I did not know that.
I wonder if I don't really use my Facebook anymore. I wonder if I went on there if I could track this person down. I probably, if
Get her
I
on the
prepared
podcast.
properly, could have like tried to get this person on the podcast.
Dude, that would have been epic if you
I
had
know.
them zoom in. But
I didn't even think of it.
they were our saving grace. And not only did they get us through the hike, but so we parked
The
in a
parking
place that
lot.
was like gated because, you know, we had read that there was problems with theft in these kinds of places when they know people are going to be gone for a long period of time. And all of our belongings were in the car because we were going from one hotel to the other. So we just parked further away and paid to park in a closed off area. So it would have been at least another mile of walking on the road to get to our car. We were like, oh my God, no way. It's 7 o'clock.
And
or
it's
something
been what
night.
at this point? Somewhere from 14 to 17 hours, I would guess.
Right. And they had parked their car literally right at the exit.
Ugh.
And they drove us to our car. And
It was the
like-
best
That was the
feeling in the
nicest
world.
thing
It was
I
the
think
best
anyone's ever done. for
feeling.
And
me.
we piled in their little car too.
Oh,
and
yeah.
were
They did
so
not have
happy.
enough seats. We had to pile up on top of each other just to get. I was like, dude, you could tie me to the roof,
Yeah.
whatever it
Yeah, I
takes.
remember you saying that.
Put me in the trunk, man. I'll do whatever it takes to not have to walk this mile down the road. That
It
would
was
be
the
final
nicest
insult.
thing to ever happen.
It was
They
the
were
nicest
such
thing.
good people. If you're out there listening, maybe I'll reach out to one of you at some point. Hey, you know,
What?
I mean,
If
I
you're
could
friends
actually
on
probably reach
Facebook,
out
it's
to
very
one of them,
likely.
and they'd probably remember who the other couple were. So
Yeah.
who knows, right? But you are just amazing, amazing people. Thank you.
Thank
so
you
much.
for taking this picture, for getting us through that. Like, this is one of the best pictures we took. There's the one at the Hobbit hole, and there's this one, and there's some cool ones where we're near hysterical at the summit, but those are the best. Those are the best ones. And I'm gonna just kind of escape the slideshow here.
I also had to shamelessly walk around with these new women that we met with my pants ripped, and I think at that point I was pretty shameless about the whole thing.
At
was
that
good.
point, we were
This
just
is-
happy to be alive. You know, It's
Yeah.
like, we have bigger problems to worry about now than your
Than
thigh
my
being
pants.
exposed. So, all right, man. I think we spent the whole episode talking about this, but I think that's a good stopping point. And
Yeah.
we'll try and get these last 5 days. We're halfway through the trip, but next time we'll get into Wellington as a good place to start as any.
Makes sense to me. I hope y'all enjoyed that Mount Doom story. I think that's kind of cool that we have this whole episode can basically be titled the
I think another thing.
story time
Wait, we're not
to
done
Mount
with
Doom.
it
What?
though, because it was a 4-hour drive.
Oh, yeah.
Who drove?
I drove.
We
I
took
say.
shifts, I think, but we all drove because it was 4 hours
Even you,
long.
Charles?
What?
Even
Yeah,
you, Charles?
Charles drove too.
I think we just all had to. There's no.
All I
don't-
remember is pulling up to the McDonald's.
No, it was Burger King.
No,
No, it was McDonald's.
we boycotted.
we
Burger
boycotted
King
Burger
earlier.
I
Okay.
thought that was
Trip.
during this.
No, we boycotted Burger King on one of the layovers.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
totally right. We
We had an
boy-
amazing McDonald's meal, and I remember we were playing. This is a weird memory I have of this. Is we the whole time would alternate who was DJing too, or we would give people a certain amount of like songs that they'd get to play, and we'd also give people a certain amount of skips where they'd be
Oh,
allowed
yeah,
to
yeah,
choose
yeah.
to skip someone else's chosen song. And we were like, you have like 3 during the whole time. I can't remember, but I remember at one point that Derek used one of his songs on that gorilla song that's like, "Where's north from here?" And we gave him so much crap about it.
What was it? The one with it
Glitter
goes.
Freeze?
Yeah, it's like.
Oh,
Is it
yeah,
called
yeah,
Glitter Freeze?
Yeah. Just
I
because.
think that's it.
Because I wanted to. And did I have like an automatic not? Could I veto a skip? Do you only get?
Oh
one?
yeah, you got to veto a skip.
I just remember you were burning through all your privileges, like all your.
I was
limited
just
resources.
I lost my mind and I was just trying to annoy the crap.
Imagine like 14 hours of hiking, dude, almost dying, and then 4 hours of driving. We were crazy. It was like 8:00 at night at the earliest that we started driving.
And
it wasn't
and
until
we got to
midnight we
that-
got to Wellington.
And it was what 10:30 when we finally got food. Like we got to that McDonald's late.
Oh, that
Because
was
we're
like
in the
one
middle
of the
of
best
nowhere.
meals of my life. that
Yeah, well,
McDonald's.
we went out of the way to find the only food open in the middle of nowhere. We're on like a desert road.
Yeah.
You
This
know?
is something that we should mention. Probably is just a broader point about driving through New
Oh,
Zealand.
I have at
was-
the end. I have a whole bunch of photos just from the road, but
Okay.
Yeah.
we can talk.
Okay.
a
My
little bit
one
about it
thing
now.
is just that it's super. I don't know. Sprawling is maybe the way to put it. Where there's long stretches of driving where
With
you're
nothing.
just not seeing anything that we would know as like a
pitch
town.
black,
or
no other
anything
cars,
that-
just cheap.
Not
for
even
miles.
a gas station. Just sheep.
Yeah.
Like not even a gas station or a McDonald's or whatever.
A rest stop, nothing.
Nothing. So it was even after we got back on the road, it was like, how far do we have to go before we can even
Food
get
and
some
water.
fast food and water?
I think we had a couple of bottles of water in the car though.
I think we
saved.
did. We may have had stuff
I'm
in
sure
the
that they were
car,
warm.
but
Oh, yeah,
We
but
probably
still,
did
I would
not
have.
care.
I would have drank the Rotora water.
Yeah.
So that ends the day of infamy of our Tongariro Alpine Crossing Mount Doom experience. So yeah, I'm glad we got to dedicate some time to put that on record, and now we'll have it always and forever. Our memories
Yeah.
of that fateful day.
A recording of it.
That's
That's
right.
nice.
Hello, friends. This is Future Charles here, just putting the finishing touches on the editing for this episode, the second part of our 3-part storytime series about our trip to New Zealand to see the beautiful scenery behind Middle Earth. Thank you so much for listening. Man, that was a crazy story, right? I almost died on that trip, but luckily, I avoided that rock, and now I'm here today to edit all these episodes for you guys. So thank you so much for listening. Please tune in for the final part next week. You're not going to want to miss it. Thanks again, and as always, go forth and conquer, friends.